Welcome everybody to the Talk of the Town podcast. Yes, me and Matt have made it 2 weeks in a row with doing these podcasts. As you can see or hear, yes, the audio is back up and running. For those people who like to listen to us on the move, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Pod, wherever you get your audio fix. I have fixed the audio. The YouTube is up and running. You can find us on YouTube. Just search Dunstable Town FC on YouTube, and you will find our shows there. Mr. Matty Carrington joins me, as you can see. How are you, Matt?
Yeah, not bad. I've just helped somebody load a couple of animals onto his boat. I think they're all in pairs, but
I mean, yeah, I've seen a lot of them today, mate. For those listening far and wide, the Dunstable was taken. I've seen Dunstable on the news today for not for football reasons. It was because it was flooded and people were bobbing along in canoes. Yeah, it was Dunstable was taking a real big hit. For those joining us as well, we can do a post match on Saturday. I wasn't there. Matt was busy. So Dunstable Town manager Steve O'Reilly, seems weird seeing you on Zoom, mate, and not standing next to you. How are you, Steve-O?
Not too bad. It's enough time's fully passed from Saturday that I can have a bit of a good reflection on it. So looking forward to having a chat with you guys.
That's it, mate. Obviously, we are here to talk about Dunstable Town 2, Tring 5 in the FA Vars, if I'm right. Yeah, the FA Vars. Dunstable bowing out of the FA Vars at the weekend. Steve, very different perspectives on this game. Obviously you were there. Matt, you were there. I watched it on the VO on Sunday morning. You definitely do. You definitely get a different perspective of the way you watch football from when you're there and when you're sitting on your couch on a Sunday morning watching it back on the VO. But Steve, obviously we didn't have time to do a post game on Saturday. Obviously, like you say, a little bit as time has passed now. How are we feeling, mate, as we sit here on a Monday, dreary Monday evening, having had a little bit of time to reflect on the game on Saturday? Obviously, going 2-0 up against Tring, going in at half time, leading 2-0, and then obviously ultimately losing the game 5-2. How are you reflecting on it now, mate, as we sit here on this Monday evening?
Yeah, no. Look, the losses are never any easier. The further out you go from them, that's certainly something that I've learned just from a career, I guess, in football. Really, it's just you're closer to the next game and the next chance and opportunity you've got to go and kind of put things right. So, no, look, extremely disappointed. We put ourselves in a very good position. In that game to progress into the next round to get a much needed home victory, and even in the first half, that Tring showed that they've got some good threats, and we had to manage those at times. But in terms of what we needed to do, I thought we were pretty effective at it. We got ourselves in that position, as I said, and actually towards the end of the half, I felt that we were in good control of it. And then, yeah, look, the second half kind of, and I'm sure we'll go into it in a bit more detail, wasn't right. There was so many things about that weren't right, and ultimately, cost us a result, cost us an opportunity to go through into the next round. And to do something positive in a cup that we all want to do really well in. So yeah, look, the reflection on it is no different in terms of those emotions that football has, in terms of disappointment and being upset and frustrated by certain things. And that's the group, that's myself, that's the management team. There's lots of areas we could have improved upon in terms of a Saturday to help us get a result. But what time does allow you to do is to analyze things in a little bit more detail, to try and separate some of the emotion out of some of the things that you are watching. They're still there at times, and watching the game back a couple of times that I has done, I'm still as angry at certain aspects as I maybe would have been on Saturday. But no, the time gives a bit more reflection and kind of look at things in a bit more of an analytical approach, and to go, okay, there's certain things obviously through that game that weren't right, and there was certain trends around the goals that we conceded, and the way that we played in that second half that are things that we will address and we'll flag to the players and we'll discuss. But there were things on our side as well. So I really want to make sure that I mention that as well. It's not, from my perspective, the losses are never on the players, just on themselves. It's a whole group responsibility, and that starts with me. So yeah, disappointed. That hasn't changed. But as I said, time gives me an opportunity to kind of be a bit more reflective and really start to put into the planning for the week ahead in terms of how we address that going into London Lions on Saturday.
Matty, how are you reflecting on Saturday? Obviously, we can break it down in a bit. Like I said at the start of the episode, we've all got a few different perspectives. I watched it back on the VO on Sunday. You guys were at Creasy Park on Saturday. Obviously, going into a 2-0 lead. From what I saw, yeah, Tring had a lot of the ball in the first half, but we took our chances, albeit there was a couple of mistakes from Goldie in goal there. But, Sammy was on, he pounced, and it's what all good finishers do. He was in the right place, right time. And put us into what I thought at the time was a very well-deserved 2-0 lead. And again, I sit here saying, look, I wasn't at the stadium, so obviously couldn't get the feel for the game. But from what I watched on Sunday morning, watching the whole 90 minutes, I thought we deserved our lead at half time. We took our chances. Yeah, Tring had a lot of the ball. They had a couple of chances. Like I can remember him in the top of the crossbar once. I think, they put a little bit of pressure on our goal, but I wasn't sitting there at half time thinking, we've somehow 2-0 up. We were 2-0 up because I felt we deserved to be 2-0 up. We were playing good football. We were pressing well. Everything was, as I would think it should be from a Dunstable Town team now that we're slowly growing into the identity that I think Steve and the boys want us to put onto the field. But Matty, what says you, mate, after we sit here on a Monday night now, reflecting back on the defeat?
Yeah, I know a lot's going to be said by a lot of people in terms of the final result. But as you say, first half, whilst Tring had a couple of chances, they were kind of half chances, nowhere near exposing the back line, really. I just want to put on the record how good I thought Sam was. I thought he really took his 2 goals fantastically, really ripped them apart. I mean, could have had 4 or 5 goals. Potentially could have had a penalty as well. There was so much in that first half that was so positive, and I just come away thinking, yeah, here we go. I think we're finally going to get that hoodoo off our back of not having a home win, and fingers crossed we'll be in the hat on Monday morning. It wasn't to be in the second half, and look, I'm no football expert, but as we've kind of said, that it wasn't fantastic in the second half, and this, I'm not going to make any bones about that, but as much as I'm gutted that we can't go on a bit of a run in the FA Vars, because I've always wanted to play. I wish I've always wanted to go to Wembley in a final, and I've articulated in the past the FA Vars was the first competition that I kind of held a bit dear to me, because I remember when Osei won it years ago, and they brought the cup into my local school, so I've held that memory close, but. It's another day of the week. It just means that we haven't got to go to Saffron Walden and spend a load of money on a coach that we're not going to regain through ticket sales. And I know that's probably not what people wanted me to hear. They probably wanted me to hear this ain't good, that ain't good. But let's face it, it's the FA Vars. It's not the league. For me, this is the ideal opportunity now for the players to really prove to themselves and to everybody else what they can bloody do. The next 2 games are going to be difficult against London Lion and Halsey, but it's the ideal time to do it. We're only 13 points off the playoffs, and I know I'm sitting here saying only, but why can't we do that? Why can't we go on a bit of a run now and put this hoodoo behind us and start ticking off some decent results against some good teams?
No, well said, mate. Steve, let's break down the game itself. We mentioned the first half there, and how I said I thought, again, I can't get the vibe of the game, so I'm not there. But from what I saw in the VO, I know you well enough to know you probably watched it about 6,000 times back already. I thought the contrast from the first half to the second half, it's very difficult to put your finger on what changed from going in at halftime 2-0 up to the way the game ended. That's something we can get into in a minute. I mean, I thought first half, we pressed really well. We closed them down really well. We limited, like Matt said, them to a few chances, but there wasn't many times where I'm going, wow, Desi's pulled off an absolute worldie there. Or they had a lot of the ball, but they had a lot of the ball and didn't really do loads with it, if that kind of makes sense. Yeah, they got near our goal a little bit, but I wasn't sitting here at half time having watched it back on my phone on Sunday morning thinking, wow, we're lucky to be 2-0 up. We fully deserved our 2-0 lead. We played really well in the first half, and it's kind of what we've come accustomed to over the last few weeks. The little blip against Harpenden, but there was moments even there when I'm thinking this is the Dunstable Town that we've kind of gotten used to over the last 2 or 3 games. Then the second half turns up. I'd be interested to see what you think, Steve-O. To me, it was kind of like the basics of football went out the window. You know, the things that you're taught as a 10-year-old, close the thrower down. Don't let someone take a quick free kick. It was when you re-watch them goals back, the mistakes that we've made leading up to the goal. Like I said to you yesterday, I've got like 3 pages of notes here. If you look at like Tring's first goal, simple things. Just mark the thrower. Don't stop. Go and mark a thrower. That's basic to me. Again, this is what I talk about when I say basic football. You know, the second goal from a corner. The guy just, I couldn't believe what I thought my eyes were deceiving me. I think, oh, this guy's running up. Someone's going to pick him up and mark him. No, boom, ball in the back of the net. The third goal, again, it was from a terrible touch from us, which ended up going over to the right-hand side of the pitch as you look at it, giving away a stupid free kick. But ultimately, that free kick we switched off from, and they scored. The fourth goal was a penalty. You can't really make it out in the VO. And the fifth goal was just a long goal kick. The ball bounced a couple of times. It ended out with Matey Boy on the right-hand side, who had a lot better second half than he did first. And you're just thinking to yourself, well, he's running. Someone's going to tackle him. And no, they didn't. So the contrast, Steve, for you must be so frustrating from what you saw first half to what happened second half as a manager. And as I know you well enough, you're literally pulling your hair out because we've gone in plenty of times at the start of this season. We've gone, right, lads, the start of the game wasn't good enough. We've got to pick this up second half. And then for whatever reason, we've come out and it's something with us at the start of the second half. I know I look around and I look at you and we might have conceded early in the second half. And I'm thinking, my God, he's literally just told them not to do this. Is it a mentality thing? Is it a naive thing? Is it something that can be coached? Me and you, Swanee and Rich and Rory and everyone's had chats about this. Is it something that you can coach the lads? Because, you know, to me, it's like I said a minute ago, the basics of football just went bye-byes in the second half. What you're taught as a 10, 11-year-old just went out the window. And for all the good that we've done in the first half, and I'm here to praise the first half because I thought we played extremely well. We closed down, we marked, we were quick. We were fast off the blocks. We took our goals well. We were bang on it. We could, like Matt said, we could have had 2 or 3 goals. We could have possibly had a penalty. So this isn't me just poo-pooing over the whole team. I thought we played really well in the first half. Really good 45 minutes from Dunstable Town. The second half, mate, no beating around the bush. I thought we were effing terrible. How are you now going to? What's your thought process as you analyse this at the difference in game from the first half to the second half, mate?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, look, I would recognise a lot of what you're saying there, and I wouldn't disagree really with any of it. I think that look, it is worth reflecting on some of the positives of that first 45 minutes because they are trends that we want to continue, right? So those are things that's what good should look like for us in lots of ways. Always can do better. Look, I agree. You know, I thought Tring moved the ball quite well early in the game, and they actually up into the point where we scored the first 2 goals. You know, I think there's about 15 minutes or so by the time we got the second. That they had created quite a bit, you know, and they'd had some opportunities, but we looked a real threat ourselves, and kind of in terms of the game plan at that point, it was going to plan. You know, we looked good, as you say. Sammy was a real threat, you know, constant threat really, and you know we put the ball in good areas, but actually then when we did get the ball at the top end of the pitch, we showed some quality. So those things are positive, and we defended, you know, the situations that we needed to defend. We defended them properly, and we had intensity in terms of our work and a real concentration and a focus. And you know, those are like, they can seem just like buzzwords, but actually, you know, this is an example where you watch the 2 halves and you would you would mention things like intensity, concentration, focus as 2 big differences between them. So yeah, like I said, look, first 45 was good. It's really interesting, and look, you know, we'll definitely find an answer to it, and it will either be something that a big change that we'll make, or it will be a number of subtle changes, or it will be a mentality change. But you know, these trends now that are repeating, we've got positive ones as well, because that's the 4th game out of the last 5 that we scored really early in a game. So there's something for us as a team that, you know, and when we're going out there, that at that part of the game that we're recognizing, hang on, there's something here for us, right? And if we do things right, there's, you know, we're approaching that part right. So that's good. And then there's the opposite trend for us, which is that, you know, we're not seeming to replicate that in the second half. So that's absolutely something that, you know, we'll break apart. You know, from a management team perspective, we'll do that. But you know, and you know, we really had that conversation in the dressing room at the end on Saturday, which is, you know, I need that from the players as well. I need them to have that element of reflection to understand. And we've got some ideas about how we might approach that in some of the conversations over the next week or so, where I need to understand what's going through their minds in those periods of the game, because as I said, we can go through the goals, individually, and we'll certainly do that as a management team. But there are threads there, and there are trends there that are not good. I think that without question, as you said, it's not anything that we want as an excuse around youth, because it's not really youth. But we're probably missing a couple of players that have been there and done it, and actually gone and seen a scenario like that and gone, right, okay, it's 2-0 and we've conceded a goal early after half time, but hang on, we're still in the lead in this game. We get a period of this game, we see it through for the next 5-10 minutes, we re-establish ourselves, we put the ball into good areas, we make sensible decisions, we slow their momentum down, whatever it might be. We probably just don't have enough of those players out on the pitch at this moment in time, and some of that's through availability. And that's a problem. And then some of that's just in terms of recruitment, and we haven't quite got to that point where we've managed to get those type of characters on the pitch. That's something that we're working hard to address, and hopefully we can get that done as well pretty soon. So yeah, it's those things for us a little bit, where when it's going well, we're looking really good, and we are. And when it's not going quite so well, we don't quite have enough yet in the group. As I said, some of it might just be experience, some of it is character or leadership, or whatever word you might want to use for it, to actually go, okay, let's not allow a bad 5 minutes become a bad 10 minutes, to become a bad 20 minutes, and become a bad half. And that's probably just not what we've got now.
It's definitely there though, because if you look at Biggleswade away, we knew they were going to come at us, and we've stood. I thought we were tremendous. And again, I'm not coming on this episode to poo-poo anyone. No. It's just I'm trying to call a game of football as I saw it. When you look at Biggleswade, and when you look at Romania a little bit, but I thought we dominated pretty much most of the game. Romania, Biggleswade for me, like me and Matt said on the last show, was really a little bit backs against the wall. But there wasn't any stage of that game where I thought, you know what, they're gonna break us down. We were fighting for everything. We knew we had a lead. We knew we had to protect it. So. Is that kind of frustrating for you, Steve? Because it's there, because we've done it. We've done it against Biggleswade. We had to defend for our lives at periods of that game in the second half. We had a strong crowd back in Biggleswade. It was all go. We had a referee making some questionable decisions, shall we say. I won't get Matt started on that. But it's there. We've done it. We've done it against Biggleswade. We went to Romania and done it. We've done it in a few other games that we ultimately haven't won. But I thought we played really well, and our backs have been against the wall. So it's there. Is it just a case of on Saturday that the old habits kind of creeped back in, and it was kind of like, it's there, but we need it on a consistent basis kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, yes, the answer to that is yes, because the habits had crept back in and we conceded the goals. I think that what would be easy though for me to do, or that instant reaction that you might have at times, is to feel frustrated by it, and for my own personal self feel like I'm being let down in any way, because I am ultimately the man who has to try and find a way for these lads to build that resilience into themselves, or that resilience needs to be on the pitch. So I know from my perspective that the lads understand that I know they understand that, like, those periods of the game they have to do better at. What clearly at this moment in time, and consistently enough, I haven't been able to do yet. As I said, some of that will be down to just it's challenge for these lads at times to change momentum game. We haven't quite got that right balance on the pitch at the right moment in time to be able to say, right, actually, this is going to be a 10-minute period now where it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be, we're going to have to go and do things that are painful, and the hard yards, and all those things that you have to do to try and get results at this level of football. And so, and so that can sometimes be, personnel, and I've got to recognise where it might be, certain players might not quite have that, again, resiliency at this moment in time, or yet understand what they might need to do in those scenarios. So that's for me to get across. But then there will be an aspect of it which is actually they might need a couple of different players to help us do that. Who, like say, who've got there and seen it before. And say it's really easy for me to stand on the sideline and be like I'm 32 now and almost 33, but I've been around in the Spartan League for a long time, played at this level for a long time. Like, I've seen it all You know, I've been 3-0 down, 4-0 down, and go and get results. I've been 3 or 4-0 up and lose games. And you know, I've seen games that are, you know, you score, they score, you score, they score. And you know, it's actually been in those experiences that you go, well, actually, you know, you can't score in every. This is one of the things I say to the lads, like, you can't score in every attack, right? If everyone scored every time that they had the ball, the
Like the NBA.
well, exactly, it would
Yeah.
be, right, and it would be 20 odd, right? And so sometimes you actually play the scenario as well, right? And it's not always, okay, well, I'm a right back, and these are the 3 or 4 types of passes that I make, or these are the moves that I make. Well, actually, you're going to be coming up against a winger who's a right-footed winger, or is a left-footed winger, or he wants to go around the outside of you, or he wants to come in, or when he comes inside, are you passing him on? Do you go with him? Do you, like, all those types of things? And they're just small examples, not even necessarily related to Saturday's game, but you know, unless you've been there and done it, you know, sometimes you just don't know how to handle those situations. And so, as I said, that's not an excuse for us, because from my perspective is that, you know, we've got good enough players that we can overcome those scenarios. But you know, I'm also not going to sit here and be naive and go, oh well, yeah, it's absolutely fine. You know, we'll just go again on next Saturday and do the same again and just hope that it works out better for us. That's not an acceptable approach either. So we'll need to tweak things. You know, we also won't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? You know, there's positives in terms of what we're doing. You know, I think even, you know, I thought Joe came in and did well on Saturday for long periods of that game, and he brings that to us. Unfortunately, we've got a bit of bad injury news for Joe, which I'm sure I'll update everyone a bit later as well. But you know, like, we missed someone like a Lewis Smith on Saturday, just in terms of
100%.
actually in that second half, just for a couple of minutes where we maybe were turning the ball over too quickly, he'd have the ball and he'd go, I'm going to be comfortable with it. I'm not going to panic in this situation, right? And so, you know, I'm calling him out because he started to demonstrate those type of qualities that you need in those situations. So yeah, look, definitely frustrated. But you know, if myself or my management team, you know, spend our time being frustrated, to me, that's also equal to feeling sorry for ourselves. You know, the right way for us to be is to recognize, you know, that there's deficiencies in terms of what we're putting out on the pitch, you know, because that's what we're responsible for, and come up with action plans and approaches to try and sort those. And so, well, people will see some of those this week. I'm sure. I'm sure we teased some of that already. So I think there's bits and pieces that we'll do to try and help us with that. But it'll be hard work. It'll be creativity for us. It'll be about trying to find a different way to try and help these lads through those scenarios. And ultimately for us to be better. You know, that's, you know, when I reflect on losses, and certainly from us as a management team, we watch the games back and we'll talk about the players individually, and we'll talk about, you know, circumstances in the games. But the first thing that we do is look at how did we prepare. You know, how did we go through our team selection? You know, what was the way that we communicated the messages? You know, did we make it clear enough in certain instances what we wanted? Did we react quick enough to the way the game was going? Did we make the right changes? All of those things are the first things that we look at, because that's what the kind of culture that we want to try and have here, that we have that accountability ourselves. And then after that, you know, we'll then pick that up with the players, and we'll go look at units, and we'll look at individuals, and we'll give them that feedback, and we'll try and address it. So yeah, as you said, the second half is nowhere near what we need to be. And you know, I don't think that it was a case necessarily, even if it looked like it. I think it was a case that the lads gave up. That's not a characteristic that I see from our group. But I think that there was a confidence or a mentality thing, that when those goals went in, it was kind of like, oh, you know, how do I pick myself up here? And as I said, maybe we need just a couple of players on the pitch as well who can go, it's fine. You know, it's fine. This is a bad 5 minutes. It's fine. We're going to get through this. So yeah, those are the things that we'll look at.
Matty, does it come back to what we said on last week's episode? You know, a word that we use all the time: patience is not something we like as football fans. We want to win, and we want to win now. And look, we said last week we're going to have ups, we're going to have downs. We, you know, start of the season, we had to go through a few downs, albeit playing quite well, I thought, as well. We weren't playing terrible until we got to Ellsworth Dynamos, and we all admitted that was just a bad day at the office. Saturday was a bad 45 minutes. We're not here to throw anyone under the bus. The second half was not good, you know, and that's just being football fans, just being people that watch football. And I know these lads well enough to know that on the pitch, they'll know it wasn't good enough as well. I know the lads that will be in the dressing room saying, hey, look, we we've dropped the ball here big time. I think their mentality will be, let's dust ourselves off and let's fix this. Is it the same, Matt, do you think, from inside the club? It's like we said last week, we're going to have games like this. We're going to have 45 minutes like this, where we're up 1 minute when we're 2-0. We're 2-0 in the lead in the cup. We're thinking it's all singing, all dancing, and we're into the next round. And then, boom, we end up losing 5-2. Is that something that, we're just going to have to ride out this season, Matt? And, ultimately, I said to you last week, I'm not going to say we're not going to have games again like this. And I didn't think we'd do it straight away on Saturday, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think what I've said it last week in regards to especially this level of football, it's all about the team that makes the fewest mistakes and is able to capitalise on the team making the most amount of mistakes. And it's easy for me to say that sitting here in front of my camera, but how you do that on the pitch, that's the difference, and that's obviously something that Steve and the lads are going to have to deal with on Saturday moving forward. But as you say, there's a little bit of patience there, but at the same time, we all want to win, and whether it's that one or two extra little links in the chain that gets us the results that we want. We have confidence, and I'm not just saying it because you're here, Steve. I do say it behind your back. We have confidence in you that this is the right team that's going to move this club forward. Because ultimately, I keep saying I don't want to go to places that we've been to many, many seasons. I'm fed up of seeing the same grounds. I want to start seeing some different grounds, albeit at step 4. So it's going to take time, but it will click, and when it clicks, I do think that we will hopefully go on a bit of a run.
Just on that as well. Sorry, Andy. Just one thing from my perspective is like I never want us to feel like it's okay as well, right? So that and two things can be true. You can not panic and lose a game like that, and you don't need to kind of rip everything up and like everything's wrong and you've got to change everything, and but also and this is from a player's perspective as well, and I don't want us to feel like it's okay as well to have 45 minutes like that, right? So two things can be true. One, we shouldn't panic, but also lads will understand, and we'll all understand that we can't turn in performances like that. That's from the club perspective, people deserve better, and the support that we get deserve better. But actually, the lads deserve better as well for themselves. That they the way that they train, the attitude that they bring. That they're a fantastic group. They really are. They're a nice group, and maybe that's too nice at times. So that's something as well that we'll probably work on a little bit. But I don't want them to ever get into into the circumstances or into a habit of going, oh yeah, well, but that was a bad 45 for us, and that's okay. No, we need to understand as well that next time that scenario hits us, that we don't want that feeling after the game, that when we're in that moment where it's going against us and we're in a moment where it's difficult. Actually, I want them to remember the pain, and of these types of defeats, and that's fuel, and that goes, no, we're not having this again. We're going to do this differently this time. So yeah, I'm always of that opinion. We can understand, we can understand why some of these things happen, but the moment we accept them, then you just allow them to keep happening again. And so we have to always recognize that when we perform in the way that we did in that second half on Saturday, that it requires some change. It requires something different. It requires a different approach. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Do you think moments like Saturday's second half, Stephen, look, the first half was tremendous. I thought we played really well. I was really impressed. And like I said, I've said FC Romania, Biggleswade, these lads, it's there. I 100% know it's there. Matt, no, we all know it's there. In a weird kind of way, other days like Elsbeville Dynamos and the second half on Saturday going to hold us in some weird way in good stead, because we've now got them learning experience. Like you say, you've been around the league a long time. We've been around this league a long time. For these lads now, some of them who haven't been around that kind of situation, and don't get me wrong, no one wants to happen at Elsbeville Dynamos in the second half Saturday, in a weird kind of stupid, freaky way. Is that now going to hold them in good stead? Because if they do get in that kind of situation, and we're only in September, so we possibly could be in that situation again come before we get to April next year, is things that happened on Saturday going to hold them in good stead for the future, and they're going to learn and benefit from it?
Time will tell on that, on some of the individuals, because if it doesn't, then we've got a problem, because we can be, if you flip this in another way, right, and so you're not getting carried away in that sense, but if we were a team at the top of the table and we went and had a bad loss against a team at the bottom that impacted a title charge or similar, you'd have to have some resilience in those moments, right? It doesn't always be a team that's at the bottom. You can be at the top and have those moments, and you're going to need to be resilient. So if I can't see the characteristics that are required from these players in those moments, and we don't respond in a positive way, that will tell me a little bit about where those individuals are. And let's say that's not calling anyone out specifically. That's just recognizing that how you evolve a group to be in a successful team is, I often say to players in groups is that I say it's really easy to be a good teammate and have good character when you're winning, right? And when you go and score and everyone runs in the corner and after the game and you're having your pictures taken, all that type of stuff, that's great being a good teammate then, right? That's the easy time. It's actually when your teammate's having a bad game, or you're having a bad game, or the decisions go against you, or you're on the bench and you don't want to be, and how do you react, and how does your impact then impact the rest of the group? That's when being a good teammate really counts. So in these moments, that's really what you look for. You look for how players respond, how they react, and some don't. I don't need them all to be shouting and being "come on lads" and all that type of stuff, but others I might need to see a bit of steel from them, or I need to see the way that they turn up in train, or what their body language looks like in certain situations. Those are the things that we'll look for. So yeah, the time will tell on that, but if the lads are as good as I hope that some of them are, that it will be kind of maybe a blessing in disguise, and will be fuel for us again to go and be better going forward.
I mean, like you say, just finishing up on Saturday. I mean, we faced a little bit of resilience at the start of the season. Our backs were against the wall. We lost a few games. People were coming at us on social media, and these lads rose to the occasion. They didn't panic. They didn't, like they say, they didn't throw their toys out the pram. They turned up at training every Thursday. They worked hard, and we started to get the results that we fully deserved. FC Romania being the turning point. But before that, I thought we'd played really well. And like I said to you, Stephen, many a post-match or pre-match, or us just sitting in the change room on a Saturday morning, we're due to put 90 minutes together sooner or later. That clicked at FC Romania. Biggleswade, I thought we were absolutely tremendous. Probably the best I think I've seen us play for all sorts of reasons, for the performance that we put in, for the resilience that we showed, for the quality that we had on the pitch from start to finish. I thought that was an all-round game of football where we showed everything. We had to show our skill and our fortitude of how we took the lead, and then how we had to show how we can be resilient with our backs up against the wall, and how we held on to a lead, and how we fought for each other. We were flying into tackles. We weren't giving up, so yes, performances like Saturday happen. And yeah, I've been openly and honest. I thought the second half was terrible on Saturday, but that's not me poo-pooing these group of lads and you guys as a management team, because I think we've got a great set of lads. I full faith in you guys as a management team. I know it's there from what I see at training, from what I see at the weekends, from the bits and bobs that we put through together. So it's there. Like you say, it might take a couple of experienced lads to come in. It might just be a few adjustments here and there. We're far from panic stations. Yes, it's disappointing that me and Matt aren't going to get to put our suits on and go to Wembley Stadium and cheer on Dunstable Town. Hey, look, we'll do it next season. These kind of things happen, mate. But it's far from panic stations. It's done. It's dusted. The main thing for me as a fan and someone that's a little bit involved in the club is that all I ask is that we learn from it. I don't want to be standing there on Saturday this week or the weekend after, and we're in a situation. And if you, like you just said, Steve, if you see them mistakes happening again, then your kind of alarm bells are ringing, because you're like, hang on a minute. This is where you need to learn. Learn from your mistakes. Anything in life, just learn from your mistake. You make a mistake, we all do it. I'll make shitloads doing these podcasts, and people have pulled me up on it, and you'll learn from it. Someone will give you something. Oh, Andy, you said this, or you done that on a certain show. Oh, okay. I'll try not to do that in future. That's the same for all footballers as well. If you learn from Saturday, and like you say, I'm sure we'll be on the training ground on Thursday, and you'll be telling these lads, look, this is the points we need to learn, and we need to learn it fast. And knowing this group of lads, they'll take it on the chin, they'll take it on board, and we will go again, mate. I've got the full faith in you and the boys. Let's briefly look forward to Saturday, Steve-O. London Lions away this weekend, all being well with Mother Nature. If it's anything like today, I'm not sure when thank God we're not at home. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know what it's like down at London Lions, but Steve-O, What's the preparation going to be this week? Obviously, myself and you and the boys and everyone will all be back down Creasy Park on Thursday training. Then we focus on Saturday, mate. How are you best getting these lads prepared as we're going back into league action this weekend?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the weather-wise, it's probably one of the better pitches to go to in terms of the game being on. I think that it's a fantastic place to go and play football at this level, London Lions. So that's certainly a positive for us in how we prepare for that. Well, look, I mean, first of all, we know that we're going for a real test. They're a good footballing team. Again, they've been together for a little while, that group, and they've got some real quality there. There'll be some areas again that we'll game plan for in terms of how we can hurt them, as we always do. But there'll be some strengths that they've got that we'll need to be aware of. There'll be some change necessitated a little bit by either injury, or we've got Lewis back from suspension, and there's be other players that will be available to us. So there'll be some tweaks around that, and then look, what we won't do is dwell. We'll prepare positively. I'm really conscious of that we don't allow. That we've covered really about making sure that we learn from things, and we don't forget them, but we don't dwell on them either. We'll have a positive approach going into Thursday night and getting ready for the game. We'll have a clear game plan in terms of how we're going to go and approach it. And I think that if the lads can do it consistently, probably for 90 minutes, we've shown that broadly speaking, when we get pretty close to the right type of team set up and plan, that we can go and get a result. We're off the back of 3 really good results away from home. And that is a positive, and that's something that we want to make sure that we can continue. We've got players individually, I think, that are actually in really good form in lots of areas of the pitch, so they'll carry that through as well. And those are the things that, again, you could easily, if you kind of get too down on yourselves, and as I say, you get too frustrated, you can easily lose sight of some of the really good things that are still happening. That we have to really lean into our strengths, recognize the areas that we've got to get better at, and that's how we'll be ready for Saturday. But yeah, look, we've certainly got a tough run of fixtures. I've seen that they moved the Wormley game up as well into mid-October as well, away from home. So we've got some really testing, but really great challenges for us. And maybe takes the pressure off a little bit in terms of going away from home, but we still get fantastic support away from home. So we want to keep delivering results for them there, but sometimes you might change your setup a little bit when you're going away from home, and the onus is maybe on the opposition in terms of how they come out, and that might suit us as well. So yeah, we'll as a management team, we're already in communication in terms of where our plans are for Saturday, how that ties into then what we do for Thursday around the session, how we address some of the areas that we need to. Look, there's some squad bits that we want to get sorted as well this week, that will play into Saturday as well. So yeah, look, we'll be in positive spirits. We'll be in good shape in terms of our preparation for it. And it's the same thing that I always say to those that we'll get as much right up until 3 o'clock as possible, and then it's those lads on the pitch then at that moment trying to put into action the plan, and then us as well, also just during that period of the game as well, understanding again where we can help impact it and support these lads through those moments. But no, look, we'll be really positive. It's literally just only a week ago that we kind of we drew at Sheffield, but it was a draw, and we were off the back of 3 positive results, and tough loss to Harpenden, really bad second half on Saturday, but we're not far off still being that team that was picking up those results that we were talking about. So that's what we'll try and draw upon as well going into Saturday.
Yeah, mate, that's 100% it. I mean, it's there. We know it's there. These, I know you lads well enough to know we've got a great bunch of lads in that change room. Yeah, we could bring in a couple maybe over the next couple of weeks, just like you say, just to tinker things a little bit and help out where needed, and maybe that little bit of experience. But mate, this is far from anyone sitting here going, "Oh my God, it's all doom and gloom." It is far from that, because these lads, from where we were when we first turned up to the very first pre-season to where we are now is complete night and day. That's attitude, that's everything. Yeah, blips along the road, but so does any team from I always say it, from the Premier League all the way down. You're going to have bumps and blips along the road, but you're going to have good times. You're going to have your Biggleswades, your FC Romanias, and we're going to have many, many more games like that to come. We are a good football team. Like any sport, it's just getting that little bit of consistency, that little bit of self-belief, that little bit of, hey, hang on a minute, let's roll up our sleeves. We can do this, and let's learn from our mistakes. But mate, it's 100% there. Well, I know myself, Matt, and everyone, we've all got full faith in you and all the boys. We've got a really good football team here, mate. So we'll be just fine. Matty, anything from the club to report this week, my friend? Are you out and about in a canoe helping down Dunstable? I don't know what's going on this week, mate.
Well, what we're really concentrating on at the minute is trying to get the player sponsored. So we've got a couple that's come through. So we've just had Richard Bulling, sponsored by RS Coaching. So really grateful for that sponsorship, and also Blades Barbershop on Houghton Parade. They've sponsored Luca, but there's still plenty of players left. So if you want to get your favourite player, get in contact with me. Either DM here or DM me on Twitter or anything like that. And yeah, I'll even chuck in a couple of free tickets and get you a photo with the smiling player as well. So, and that's all I've really got.
Perfect, mate. Perfect. Well, Steve-O, thanks for your time, mate. No doubt I will see you 1,000 more times this week. Speak to you God knows how many times. But like I say, this podcast now, we've sorted out the audio. I know everyone was badgering me. Andy, we need some audio back. I listen in my lorry. I listen at work. But wherever you
I just don't want to see your face, mate. That's all it is.
Oh, no, that's what it is, mate. I get this. It's like being doing the NFL show. This is, mate. I get this all the time. But the audio stuff is up. So you can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us anywhere. Just type in the Talk of the Town, or just go on the Dunstable Town YouTube channel, where Brad does an absolutely tremendous job. You can find all the Talk of the Town stuff on there. All the post games with Steve, all the post match, all the Thursday interviews when Brad does the catch up with him, everything about the youth team, everything you want to find. Dunstable Town FC on Twitter, or at DTFC Pod for us on Twitter, X, whatever it's called now. But myself and Matt will be back. We'll do this all again next week, when hopefully we're talking about a game of football, all being well with the weather, and a famous Dunstable Town victory over London Lions this Saturday. If you do want to come and check us out, 3 p.m. kickoff away this Saturday at London Lions. But till next time, everybody, I've been your host, Andy Burrows, with Mr. Matty Carrington and the main man himself, the boss man, Steve O'Reilly. Till next time, everybody, up the Mighty Blues.